All right, bet. Welcome. This is the Trade Tribe, Season 1, Episode 7. 4 episodes away from Heroes Challenge. My name is Tawfiq Suleiman. The student investor is by no means am I an expert, but every week I'm looking to learn and bring my tribe along. The Trade Tribe is a trading community and show where we learn to trade, share strategies, and contribute to making the tribe wealthier. This show is our take on how we analyze the markets, what things going to happen, and how we make plays on that, as well as share our learnings along the journey. Into our great trading group chat and our weekly recorded calls, we want to see every young adult, a part of our tribe, thrive. So make sure to add us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, any podcast platform at TheTradeTribe. And we're just going to jump in. So today, same schedule. We go through the intro, guests, talk, check in, see how everybody's doing, talk about the meme of the week. And this week is the book club segment, so we're going to dive deep into that as where most conversation is going to be on. And we just talk about what happened this past week. It was the elections this past week, so much has gone on that we had to keep y'all informed with. The week ahead, what happens after this election, members picks, what are the things that people are playing and things like that. And we normally divulge into off-topic discussion from there. And that, so today's question is the same thing. How did last week go for you? But today's question is, how do you feel about the election? And we can start with Hero.
I gotta go first.
Yeah.
All right. This election, man, the election was the election. 71 million people voted for Trump. So that means 40% of the people out, 40% of the adults who were voting out there, 1 in 7 white people celebrating on the street right now voted secretly for Trump. That means there's a maniac within arm's reach of you. There's no such thing as going back to normal. The simplistic answer is the election was booty cheeks, and we just got a madman out of office. That's the better of two evils. It's quite simple. But other than that, I'm good. I got added 13 new subscribers to the channel, so that's real.
We lit. That's what's up. I mean,
man, my week has been pretty good. It's just been working on stuff in classes. It's getting towards finals time. So I've really been buckling down with that and the reading and things like that. Things are going great over at Dope Dreams, working on some new designs. So
nice.
As far as stocks, man, I haven't seen green in a long time, but this week changed all of that. So
facts. You winning up the election?
Yeah, man.
Facts. Tariq?
Yeah, I think Hero said it best. that was very well put, man. Yeah, I mean, we got a new president. I'm happy that the old one's out. I don't know.
Still got 2 months.
Yeah, you're right. We don't know what's about to happen, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy that he's out. I'm cool with Biden being president. I'm excited to see what happens.
Facts. Jesse?
I'm glad all the counting's over. It was a long week, just like doing work and trying to stay focused, but also checking CNN, MSNBC, the AP polls. And I think there's still some uncertainty right now with Trump threatening to sue all these different states. So it's a good feeling that we elected one, but I don't know if we're out of the woods quite yet.
No uncertainty. It's just the ramblings of a madman. He'll be out of here June 1st.
Fingers crossed. And we have Nuffy on here. What's good? Tell us how your week went. How do you feel about the election?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I'm the only female on here, so shout out to us.
Period. We got more than that. Supposed to come on.
I know, I'm looking through like where the rest of the girls at, but it's all good. Sorry, I'm in the car currently, but my week was good. I mean, Hero already knew like I was struggling with these 4 days trying to find out who was gonna win. Like I wasn't eating, I was stressed, my anxiety was high. So I feel good. I've been eating now. So yeah, it was just a lot of stress for me, but I'm all about history, and I was just really hoping that Kamala got in and was able to make that history for us women, because it just makes a statement.
Nah, facts. That shit was a huge win. Like, this is the first Black woman in a position that high, vice president. I saw a picture, was a collage of all the previous vice presidents, and all of them white men, old white men.
Mm-hmm.
You see one person break that trend, break that what's it called? What do they call it? Ceiling, glass ceiling, and it's like that's a great feeling. So that's how I feel about the election. I think that's a huge step, and it's actually just really empowering, if anything. So that's how I feel about the election. My week's been good, just really stressful, real busy. Same thing. Jesse said the same thing, balancing work, balancing trading, and still being on CNN up until 3 a.m. in the morning, tuned in, things like that. I feel like I done refreshed the election news 1,000 times this week on my browser. But yeah, besides that, it's been good. It's been good. But that's good to hear. Everybody's on doing well, making money, being great. This week, the meme of the week, you see the side eye trying to avoid, and it says Trump, Bitcoin is not money, and it's based on thin air, and the Federal Reserve is just looking like trying to avoid all kinds of suspicion. I think Tarek also found this one funny to me, as well as me, sorry. And it's just funny because they also doing the same thing, really. I don't know what y'all think about
My
that.
bank account is this meme because I haven't held, I can't think of the last time I held a paper currency, like a physical currency. When was the last time y'all actually, I have money in my account, but I ain't never held that money before.
Well, you don't keep 100 on you. You got to always keep 100 on you at least. You never know.
No, you don't. For what? What?
Shit,
It's COVID time. Who you handing that money to? They gonna slap your shit.
You just gotta take pictures on Instagram and just hold it to your phone the whole
I
time.
don't stun on Instagram. People know how to find you on Instagram.
Facts. That shit. People be checking your location. But shit, that's the meme of the week. I don't know if y'all saw anything funny or anything that like was funny as hell to you. I feel like Trump's Twitter account was also comedy to me.
It wasn't even his Twitter account that was comedy so much. It was Twitter reacting to it, like Twitter itself saying, "Yeah, this tweet is a lie." Like that was what made it funny. Like everything is getting fake. Like it was like a complete play. Yeah, it was terrible.
I agree. Twitter was definitely monitoring everything. Like no chill for Twitter.
Hell yeah, it was instantly taking down anything that remotely, even things that didn't add or make sense. It was taking that shit down. But yeah, it's just a lot of funny shit going on this week. This is the meme of the week. And yeah. This week, we'll be talking about the book. For those of us that are ready, I think this was a really good chapter. One of the biggest things, the most popular things everyone is talking about is options, how to make money off options. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's trying to learn it. But one of the things that we are trying to do is really understand how it works. I feel like a lot of people don't just jump into it and like they're not actually trying to learn like the way that we are learning and trying to make sure, okay, we understand what we're doing as we're learning it and like by doing it. So I'd love to see what y'all thought about this book. I thought this chapter was a really dope chapter. I feel like I learned a lot more about the stuff I didn't know about options. There's all kinds of stuff in there. Anyone go ahead and talk first, or I can kind of jump through and like walk through what was talked about.
Well, for sure, chapter 2 is going to be something that calculated risk and all of that stuff. But I really enjoyed that they started digging into the options play a little bit more, understanding not only like what the numbers mean in the Greek and revisiting the Greek, which is super important, but understanding what your takeaways are in the option field. I think a lot of people go into options not understanding that it is a high risk, high reward, but it's like a glass cannon. It's a one-shot kill. You make your shot or you miss it. And also understanding what volatility and volume and how they're not one and the same. One of them they're inversely proportionate in a lot of situations. So I was really thrilled to reread on that.
Facts. I think they did a great job of like breaking down like the things that make a good strategy and options. Because first they kind of started off with what it is, like what is an option, what does it really mean to like say, okay, I'm trading options, and what are the different types of options. And now they went into that, what you said, such as volatility, volume, what are the things that move these options, what are the things that you got to really understand and know. So that was something that was really dope. And we kind of like walk through kind of like what talked about. So first they talked about options, what an option is, that being the derivative security attached to stocks where you can trade, you can kind of get leverage, but not the obligation to sell or buy a stock at a certain price, 100 shares of that. I think really explain that well in the book. They say, okay, this is the literal definition. This is what that definition means. And then they also say, okay, what does that really mean? They say, okay, options trading, all you need to worry about is that it's low capital. You put a little bit of money, is very risky, so that's high risk, but then the reward is really high. That's why a lot of people are really attracted to it for the high reward. But and the fact that you don't put enough money into it, much money into it.
But there's the trap in itself, because the exit strategy, and they spent a little bit of time on this, but I would have really appreciated if they gone into depth a little bit more about exit strategies. It's so important for you to know how to get out of an option play, because at the end of the day, options aren't the same for everybody. Me and you could get in on the same option at the same strike price at the same moment and set it for the same expiration date. But because of when we're looking at the market, it's going to look good for me at 20% profit. Meanwhile, at you could take a negative 5% profit and hang in there and be like, I'm not going to fall out because I got 3 weeks on this option. So really understanding decay, understanding theta, and just being able to have a firm exit strategy.
I feel like this was kind of like the introduction chapter to that, to talking about the strategies and places where you can enter and exit. I think in the next chapter they go into the deep analysis of how do you go in and different strategies. So I think that is the next chapter. So that's a good point. And we can read that for the next segment. So that'll be 2 weeks from now when we review it. So over the next 2 weeks, we can like really learn the strategies in that, and like entries and how you exit and things like that. But bet. Let's see, what else did they talk about in the book? They did talk about difference between a call and a put. That kind of makes sense to everybody. Anyone that don't know the difference, calls and puts.
Go over it real quick.
Facts. For calls, for those who don't know, a call is basically one type of options contract. So with options, you're not buying the stock outright. You're buying a contract that gives you the right to buy 100 shares at a certain price. And with that contract, you can either say you want it to go up or you want it to go down. So it's kind of a different type of contract. So are you buying a call contract or a call option, which means you have the right to buy the stock at the price that you agree on, which is the strike price, and we can talk more about that, or a put option. So a put option basically being the opposite. You have a contract that gives you the right to sell them at a certain price. So you can go and say, hey, I want to sell 100 shares of this to this person if it hits this point by this date of expiration. So it's kind of like a written contract. It says, wait, are you going up or down? Because stocks, they can only go 2 ways, up or down, or they just stay where they're at, sideways. So the contract reflects that you can either get one that goes up or goes down. And
I have a question.
Yeah.
So which is the better one that you would choose? Or is there not one? It's just whichever one? That's
a great question, actually. That's actually a very great question. And the answer would be, it depends on the situation. And pretty much your style of trading, if that makes sense. But in the situation for me, my personal opinion, I'm someone that understands that calls, I guess, to explain context, with calls, you have limited loss and unlimited profit. But with puts, you have unlimited loss and limited profit. So if you're someone that is still learning and being a beginner, it makes more sense for you to focus on calls rather than puts, because puts really are very risky, if that makes sense, because you're kind of borrowing, because typically you won't have 100 shares of the stock itself, but you're writing a contract that says, hey, you're going to sell it despite you not having it. So that's a little bit riskier. You actually have to go buy it and then sell it to the person that signed the contract with you. So for beginners, I personally believe calls are better and safer because you have unlimited profits. And this book kind of explains some of that, where with the call, you want the stock to go up, and if it can go up to any price, but with a put, like you're betting that it's gonna go down. But if the price goes all the way up to infinity, that means you gotta pay for that now. And it's like that's infinite loss. But instead, you only make a certain amount because you only put enough money. The premium, if it goes to zero, that's as much as you can make. If that makes sense.
That does. Perfect. So I guess I'm a call person.
Basically, I'm personally a call person. I think other people talk about it too.
Yeah, I'll add this 2 cents to it. With the call and the puts, the call and puts are a reflection of the market. And if we're using the market from 2018 that increased 12%, any given day, the market's going to go up. So you never want to put yourself to be betting against house money. Always put yourself on the flow and in the favor of it. Now, if Uber CEO came out and dropped the N-bomb, then obviously put a put on Uber because their stocks are going to go down. Think of puts as if something's going to go down, you want to put. If you think something's going up, you want to call.
Facts.
Thank you, brother.
Bet. Something else they go over. So that pretty much when they talk a little bit about that in the calls and put section. They also did a great job and talk about the different things that make this that make up the specifics of a contract, such as the strike price, the expiration date, and things that you have to agree to when you get an option. And that's something that makes it a lot more complicated than stocks. If one of y'all could talk about that, I got to go run and grab my charger real quick. I think Hero, Hamid, I think you know more about like strike prices and things like that, and like what the book kind of talked about too.
Hamid, earn your credits, son.
That I'll be right back.
I mean, yeah. So, before I did some reading and things like that, and trying to understand the Greeks. And I wish I would have done that beforehand, like before I first got started, because most of the time we learn about basic options, they just teach you what options are. They don't teach you what all those things are. And if you've taken like physics, like basic level physics and a little bit about calculus, the Greeks basically kind of work like that a little bit. It's just rates of change. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want me to like break down my quick knowledge of each one or.
No, I feel like that's going to be Steve style for like chapter 3. So okay. I would say go with the overarching topic.
So like the big one is delta. Delta is the one that tells you how much the option is going to change, how much the option price will change by when the stock goes up $1. Because you have sometimes when you're looking at it, you think it's not proportional all the time. So delta helps you understand that. And gamma is just the rate of change of delta. So like I said, the physics comparison, like delta is speed and gamma is acceleration. That's the way I think about it, how the delta changes. And then theta is just time decay, how much, as you get closer to your expiration point.
Theta is death.
As you get closer to expiration point, like how much it's going to change, which is something to really know, because you're always like, I think it's going to hit 450. I got a week left. What should I do? And theta is really going to be useful for that.
And as far as know, that was the thing. Like I've always wondered, like, how do I know how much a stock is going to like decay over time? But I didn't know that was a thing. They give you a number that says, "Hey, this is the exact number."
And it's kind of baffling, crazy. And that's why then it becomes baffling when people do options and lose money, because it's like they tell you everything bad that could happen, and it's like it's a calculated risk, but to a fault. So it's about how much risk you're willing to put in. And a general rule is, if you're not willing to spend a pretty penny, like if I don't think like if it's a $30 option, I don't think going into that option spending less than $100 is safe. You got to be willing to spend $250 for a $30 option for you to really say that you're going to be in a safe space. Like then you get into in the money. Is your strike price in or out of the money? Being in the money is something you want to do all the time as a call, but at put, you want to be out of the money. You want to be as far as out of the money as possible. So understanding those concepts and why being in the money is better, because you're betting that even if you have a bad day, you're not going to have the worst day in history.
No, that's a great point. I feel like the thing is that most people that start, they don't really know like what that is, because when you open up,
learn the Greek first.
Like it's all numbers. It's all numbers. You just see all this theta, beta, alpha. Like it don't make sense. You just see a number and it don't make sense. But once you learn it, and this is something that makes this book really great, because they break down what each of those things mean. Those Greeks, those numbers, and things like that are on your screen, are available. So if you don't look at it, you should know it. But it's like, it's so complicated when you first look at it. But this book, I feel like this book explained a lot of stuff, and it kind of clicked for me, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. Learn the Greek before you buy an option. If you can't rattle off theta, delta, gamma, like just off top and recognize them, don't do it.
Facts. But what do y'all think about, so there's another thing that the book mentioned was that these numbers do change each day. So like one day the theta will be this, and the next day the theta will be that. Like, what do y'all think about that?
And that's why, and that's the second part, volatility. They change based on volatility, and volatility is based on volume. So if you're dealing with a stock that has less than 1 million options, less 1 million trades going on with it, there's not a lot of volume in there. There's not a lot of people trading that. So one person could come in here and buy 50% of it and change the market for you completely. And you tend to see this happen with smaller stocks. So if a stock is under $100, some dude with $1 million could walk in there and be like, you know what? I feel like owning this today. And he buys everything. And if he chooses to sell when you're trying to get your contract off, you're just out of luck. You're going to lose your money. It could go to $100 extra. But the moment, if you don't sell between the time he decides to buy and let it back out into the market, you're SOL. So volatility and volume then become like the second demanding factor. You need to make sure that you're not only, you can't buy a penny's option. Everybody's thinking like you. Don't be basic when you come to your option plays. Don't be basic.
And that's Vega. The Greek for that is Vega. That's what mentions.
Exactly. Facts. That's actually a great point. I feel like a lot of people don't learn enough about this, and it's great that like we're able to like start learning that so we can really make informed trades on, okay, we know that this is what we're getting into. I think another thing that they talked about in this chapter was about the probability of things. Like with these numbers, you got to really understand like what is the probability of this happening? Because a lot of people just speculate, I think this is gonna happen. I'm gonna put my money into it, but they don't really think about, okay, what is the actual probability, and look at, okay, if this is a high chance that this is a good time. Nuffy is asking, so I need to learn the Greek letters first. I think is a great thing to like, you need to know. The four main ones, or I think the only ones that they talk about are the it's the theta, the Vega, which other one? What were the other two again? I just forgot the
Delta
theta,
and Vega,
Gamma.
Delta and Gamma. And the book, you definitely check out chapter 2. The book kind of explains each of them quickly. Hamid also talked about it just before too. I'm not sure if you caught that.
Yeah, and also it's not something that's like incredibly difficult to learn. I know it sounds like it is, but once you see it and see how it's applied, you'll pick it up right away. You can find it on like Google and things like that. It's really easy once you understand what it is. It's a quick reference. It shouldn't take long to, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's
awesome.
It's
Thank
a
you, guys.
game changer. It's a huge game changer. I don't really understand how Vega works really, and I think it's
just the volatility. It's just the change of, it's the volume and volatility of the market of that.
I still gotta learn and practice more like using that numbers. I think the only ones I've kind of looked at are theta, because I want to know, okay, how much is it going to decay? Should I get out now if it's a looting trade versus sooner or later? And it's interesting how you can like really use these numbers to like dictate what the chances are of your trade, so you can really know, okay, this is something you should not, because it gives you signals that says, yo, the theta is too high, or the way it's moving, or the way that it's not worth an entry. Because some people say, oh, this is a great company and it's going to move up, but if the numbers are not going to move up as much as you think it is, it's like it don't make sense to put it and risk that much. So I think that's a great point. Another thing that they also talk about is the options pricing. So everyone wonders, okay, an option, you buy it, you sell it like everything else, like a stock. It's easy, but it's a lot more complicated, where it's not just you buying ownership of the stock, but essentially you're kind of buying into three things that make up that price, that number. So when you see a price of a contract or an option, they will say, okay, for the options, for this strike price, you have to do 50 cents per share, but then you multiply that by 100, you get the actual price of the contract. So that would be times 100. So if it says 50 cents per share for this contract, that means the premium of that option, so how much you got to pay to buy that option, is 100 times that. So if it's 50 cents, 100 times that means the contract is worth $50. That's the price of it. But what makes that price up, the book talks about it, is intrinsic value, extrinsic value, and time value. So what that means is, with intrinsic value, that is the actual money that the option is worth. So with the option saying, hey, you can buy 100 shares of Microsoft at $200 and it's $250 today, that means you are guaranteed to make $50, that $50 difference times the amount of shares you have, which is 100 for each contract. So that means the intrinsic value of that option is that money or profit that is guaranteed. So if I say, hey, I'm buying an options call on Apple to reach 200 by the end of this week, and it's at 250, I'm guaranteed $50 profit. That's 250 minus 200 on the spot if I bought and exercised that option. So that's the intrinsic value that makes the price. Typically, stuff that are out of the money don't have any intrinsic value because it hasn't hit the price yet. Everyone understand what in the money and out the money is?
Yeah, relative to a call.
So out the money, if a stock option is in the money, it will have some intrinsic value. That means there's some profit that's guaranteed, and that will be kind of included in the price. But for out the money, you haven't reached that criteria yet. So basically, there is no intrinsic value because there's no profit on it. If anything, it will be a loss. So the intrinsic value is zero. Then there's extrinsic value. So this is the kind of the flip side of intrinsic value. It's basically when you say, okay, what do people hope or think is going to be worth? So if I think, okay, my option doesn't expire to next year, but the stock is at 250, but my strike is 200. That means in a year's time, I can make this amount of money within that. That's based heavily on the volatility. So if it's very volatile, like for Tesla, moves about $60 each day. You can go from 400 to 500 by the end of the day. That is about huge volatility. It moves a lot. So that means there's more chances of you making money and it going up. So that adds value, which is called extrinsic value. It's not actual guaranteed profit, but it's kind of the hype that people believe. So if I say, oh, this could make me 200 one day, of course I'm going to sell it to you for 200 now instead of giving it for the actual price it is worth right now. And that's kind of the extrinsic value. Then you also talk about the time value. So depending on where it expires, how much money can you make, if that makes sense. So I think this kind of explained all of that in a good nutshell. Anything that stood out in this chapter for you guys, or any questions this kind of sparked? Jesse?
No, the biggest takeaway for me in this chapter were the Greeks. I already knew
Facts.
Delta, and I have like a rule where if it's not 0.8 or higher, don't enter it because the price of the option isn't correlated strongly enough with the price of the underlying stock. Oh, man, but it was good to learn about the other Greeks.
Big
you said 0.6?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
Facts. Well, yeah, that pretty much summarizes that book club segment. I think everyone should have to go check that chapter out if you haven't. We'll probably go over the chapter 3 next time in 2 weeks or in 2 episodes from now. But I think it's really great. It's probably one of the best summaries I've seen on options trading. A lot of people have questions about this. Options are things that they need to look at, but they don't really actually say, okay, what are the things you need to know? And this is basically all the basics that you need to know before you go trading. At least understand a good chunk of this before you trade. But yeah, that is the book club segment of this week. Now we can go, I guess, talk about what happened this past week. There's been so much stuff that happened. Honestly, don't even know where to begin from. What do y'all think was the biggest thing that stood out to y'all? Of course, the elections, how that kind of played. It was really crazy how people pretty much predicted before the ballots were going in that Biden was going to win, and they priced that into the market. So it was a huge rally in the S&P 500. So that was interesting to see.
Yeah, if you was talking to me and you was on game, you would have seen just like me. You feel me? I had my predictions already on the board, 7 days ago. But I'm not here to brag. I'm just
you got an inside plug in the government. You got someone that's volunteering to count the ballots. That's what.
Yeah, I got somebody on the inside counting ballots in 10 different states. Just like Ludacris, I got holes in different area codes.
That's funny.
I don't know if Biden was actually favored to win because I was looking at the different gambling markets and Trump was actually plus 120 and Biden was plus 350. So at this point in time, Biden was the underdog to win the election.
Everybody was looking at the Vegas odds. That's a lot of people use stocks to look at the Vegas odds and what moves to make because Vegas controls everything.
Yeah. But once it became clear that Biden was going to win, stocks did better because the Senate wasn't taken over by the Democrats, basically. So it's going to be harder for him to increase the corporate tax rate, which he's talked about a lot. So if he's having trouble doing this over the next 4 years, corporations are still going to have these same levels of profits. And I think that's what fueled this past week.
Facts. Do you feel like it was over warranted? I feel like overhyped, or what do you think?
What do you mean overvalued or overhyped?
At least with the market like reacting to that.
Well, yeah, I think it's a overreaction because they're just playing it safe. Not even overreaction, like they're playing it safe because for all it's worth, if the Trump administration has taught us anything, is that executive orders can be used for anything now. So if he wants to write an executive order to put in a corporate tax, he can do that. Why? Because we've seen the Trump administration use those same powers to manipulate. But I think anybody who like had any doubts about the stock market, I mean, the stock market in correlation to the presidential election, you have to remember two facts, and the rule still applies here. No president has ever been reelected after 100,000 citizens have died from a pandemic or natural disaster. And no president has been reelected when the stock market has lost 300 points in 1 year. So those two things were true. Those two things happened. So there was no chance he was going to survive. Those were the only two stats I needed to know in history to make my decision.
Facts. You broke it down, flying ahead. That's dope. It's really dope. I think a lot of people like made profits. A lot of the stocks that were going up this week, kind of predicting, okay, these are the stocks that are going to go up. So for me, I was looking at other EVs and things like that. Were there any like stocks that moved that stood out to y'all? We can start with like Hero. I think you mentioned that you made some profit off the stocks that rallied this week.
Oh yeah, so Apple and Microsoft kept me above water, and my favorite NIO was on the up and coming, but I love that First Energy came out with their reports and they increased their dividends from $4.59 to $5.22. So I bought the dip and took the L with 10 stocks in, knowing, okay, I'll lose this money, but I'll hold on to these dividends and keep buying with the option of making. I have 13 now. So 13 times 5, somebody do the math.
That's 65.
Okay, so I'll take that. I'll take this measly $22 loss for a $65 gain. And my profit was coming and they're going to go back up. First Energy is going to go back up. So I'm not worried about it.
I feel like Hero, he's a dividend king. Anything dividends, he's on it. Like, hey, he don't waste no time. If he sees anything dividend related, he's hooked.
Yeah, I'm hooked.
I don't with that.
Yeah. Funny thing about Neo, actually, NIO. So my sister who is like doesn't know anything about stocks, she thinks stocks is haram, she doesn't want anything to do with it. Texted me today, was like, "Yo, buy 10 shares of NIO for me." So I'm like, "What in the world?" So like everybody's paying attention to what's going on. People who don't know anything about stocks and paying attention to what the energy sector is about to have. So that's a good sign for sure.
Facts. I think that's a great idea. I guess a great point. Sorry. Let's see what else happened this week. I feel like the jobs number report came back. They said there's improvement in employment.
Yeah, but that's like saying there's an improvement in being the tallest midget. It's not much.
That's not politically correct.
What is it? What is it? My bad.
No, it's a Jay-Z lyric. He says the tallest midget, and it says that's not politically correct. It's a Jay-Z lyric.
Okay. Little people. My bad.
Ain't nothing little about Jay-Z now with his quote. True. How do you feel like this is reflecting what is going on with COVID? Like everyone's been focused on the election, but a lot of people have not been talking about the COVID cases. I think COVID numbers hit the highest daily peak since this started.
What, like 100K?
100K in one day. That is crazy.
188K.
Well, all right. So I think with COVID and the numbers and stuff like that, it's gonna be a certain point where we're gonna decide like, yo, it's not gonna work. We're gonna have to live with it because the way COVID is working right now as a virus, it's not lethal. It's not gonna kill people, but it's advanced itself and found a way to live within this without killing us. It's still people are still gonna die from it, but basically it's becoming a livable disease. A livable disease that's like everything else.
That's a false pretense. I'm not gonna let you spit lies on here. What's something that we should know about viruses? What is something we need to know about?
viruses get smarter and they develop and they advance.
And you want to know how fast they get smart and how fast they get evolve? At a 500% rate to humankind. So
exactly.
So at a 500% rate, that means there's people going to be dying. The only thing that's keeping people alive and stopping the death rate has gone from 110 daily to 800. The only reason why people are surviving longer is because doctors have gotten better at treating it. But if the hospitals fill up at 64% right now and go to 88% like they were in April, then these numbers of people will keep dying. I'll use a friend of mine who just recently passed from it. He was a 34-year-old man who was in better shape than I was, and he's dead now, and he's left behind. And his thought process was that if we use herd immunity, 2 million people have to die for that to actually work. So I'll let you draw a straw and decide if you're going to be on that side. And I don't think anybody in this room would willingly draw a straw to see if they make the COVID rush. The easiest way to handle this is 6 feet apart, put on the mask, and stay at home if you can.
Thanks. I feel like a lot of people are not really sticking to those kind of guidelines and like taking this less seriously with everything going on. And you start to reflect, and that's starting to reflect in the stock market. Like something I noticed was a lot of the COVID stocks, like the big winners of the COVID pandemic, have been shooting up this week. Some of them were like Zoom's went up, was very volatile. It was moving a lot this week. Peloton, although they've been booming because of the pandemic and like getting a huge amount of sales to the point that they don't have enough supply. So a lot of people were disappointed with that this week. So it dropped a little bit, but it still moved up a lot. I feel like it has more potential. If anything, it has good news. So Peloton will probably be something we'll talk about in the week ahead. But there was a lot of other stuff like Adobe was moving, Roku was moving, Netflix was making huge movements. I feel like there was a lot of movements and a lot of great plays or potential opportunities with the stocks that like were really kind of termed COVID stock, winners of things that like helping us be successful or make it through this COVID period. So that was interesting to see, and I feel like that reflected in the markets, but I feel like it's not being reflected enough because I feel like a lot of people are not taking this seriously, as Hero said. But we'll see if this is something that we can see potential of. Another thing I did see was the Prop 22 announcement. So for those that don't know, there was, I guess, debate or a bill or I guess a survey being sent out about whether the people that are counted as drivers for Lyft and Uber, they're listed as contractors, so they're not official employees of Lyft and Uber, so they don't get certain things like benefits, specific or set amount of pay. So that was something that the government, I guess the state and the companies have been going back and forth with. And so far, they kind of won that bill. So basically, they don't have to list drivers as employees, so they get to save a lot of money on their balance sheet. So I think that was reflected in the stock price this week because the stocks moved a lot based off that and gave hope that, okay, there's less chances of Uber or Lyft staying in the negative and more chances of them becoming profitable if they have employees, they have their drivers not listed as employees, which kind of sucks because they're not getting what their fair worth. But in the end, it's all about what they care about business-wise. What is going to increase the bottom line for them? So I don't know if what y'all think about that. Other stocks that went up were electric vehicles. Well, there was a lot of mayhem and hype around that. Payment stocks like Square. Yeah, I think Hamid, you were talking about Square and PayPal and those movements that are going on with the introduction of cryptocurrency and just how they've been performing too.
Yeah, that's because they're online payment methods. So stores are going to put more focus on their online payment methods because people aren't going to shop in stores anymore. They can't. So any way they can accept online payments is about to boom because that's all people can do.
Facts. And I think something that PayPal did also was they've made about a couple $100 billion in revenue, or was it millions of revenue just off Bitcoin transactions on their platform. That was crazy.
Yeah, they're advancing. They're not just doing regular checkouts anymore. They're doing a bunch of different things, and that's what's really helping them grow.
Oh yeah, and Bitcoin too. They're doing a lot of major stuff. I guess it's been going crazy. They just shot up to 15,000 this week. It was at what 13,000 last week, or that was crazy to me. Like, so everyone was talking about Bitcoin. Everyone was saying buy Bitcoin. So it was interesting seeing that this past week.
Yeah, and a big thing that's happening with Bitcoin is the fact that a lot of betting sites let you make bets with Bitcoin. And because there's sports are back on, football's back on, college football's back on, people are betting more, which is another thing that Bitcoin is useful for.
Facts. Are y'all pro Bitcoin, pro cryptocurrency?
Yeah, man, make your money.
I'm not against it. It's never something that I've ever dabbled in. I think the principle of it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I just never chose it for myself.
Facts. I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of uncertainty for sure. A lot of people don't know much of how it works and things like that. But I think has a lot of potential. I think this is something that could.
I mean, I made 40 cents off of it, so it was I ain't got nothing bad to say about it.
Hey, we talking big money. You got 40 cents.
Bought a whole new lamb.
I support it. I actually had some difficulty trying to buy it on Coinbase because it wouldn't let me transfer money from my bank to the app. So I actually haven't been able to get into it. But as soon as we get that straightened out, it's something that I definitely put at least like $250 into.
Facts. I think I put about a similar amount. I put like $200 in it because I did see someone post a chart of like what it looks like. Because if you remember, like earlier this year, was it end of last year, there was a huge run up in Bitcoin where it went all the way up to 20,000 from like 13,000 within like a 2-week time frame, and then it dropped significantly. But now that people are hyping it up again, it's starting to make that same pattern. And when I was looking at the chart, it was making that same breakout pattern. So I was able to say, hey, this is a really good setup. So I throw $200 in it. And so far, I think I'm up like $20. So I think there's a lot of room for this to hit, 18K by the end of the year?
There's this guy on a podcast. His name's Anthony Pompeo. Pompano or something. And he's got Bitcoin going to 100,000.
Do y'all believe that? How high do y'all think Bitcoin's going to go?
It could go past 20K, but I don't know about.
I don't know about 100K.
Just gassing that up.
Yeah, people. Like it's the self-fulfilling prophecy. You tell if you are a person who owns a podcast with 100,000 people and they all spend $10 on Bitcoin, then yeah, you know what that also is called? That's called insider trading. Ask the dude from Microsoft who's now paying the IRS $1,000 plus 60 years in prison. So.
Oh wow! What is the story with that?
So like the dude that used to own Macker Chief, the software program for like viruses and stuff, Macker Chief or whatever it's called, he basically would go on and say, yeah, there's been these security breaches, but if you put your money into this security coin, it'll get you so and so amount of money, and all of those things went down. So basically, the IRS got him for inside trading, but he lived on a yacht, so he was just traveling from island to island, never, docking, and they finally got him and extradited him, and he's now like in the court process, and it's like he's looking to face 60 years in jail and paying $1,000 for every insider trade he's made in the last 10 years. So it's like. Oh, wow. Anybody can say anything, but it's about the validity behind it. Do you have $1,000? If that person doesn't have $1,000 to have the money to push it to $100,000, what's he talking for?
That's facts. I feel like a lot of people are really kind of talking out the air, trying to hype it up or get more people to believe that it's going to reach that level. But I honestly don't see the basis or of good saying, okay, this is a valid reason why this would go up that high. I do believe it could shoot up to 20,000, 25,000, like Jesse said, but I can't really see, okay, where's the basis? Okay, where it will go to 100,000? Like, why would someone be willing to pay 100,000 for a digital coin that is not really real, but can easily be lost and hacked? So it is interesting watching that. Hopefully it turns out in something. If not, lock in profits per usual. Jesse, also you mentioned the Take-Two Entertainment COVID play, something about the video gaming, Red Dead Redemption and 2K.
Yeah, I was just saying that it doesn't look like we're going to get past COVID anytime soon. So people are still going to be playing video games. New video games are going to keep coming out. And video games are going to start costing more. They went from $60 to $70 now with these new stations coming out this holiday season. So I think that'll be a positive catalyst for Take-Two. It really doesn't move much outside of like around earnings, but still something to look out for.
They dropped PS4 drops. I mean, PS5 drops this week, right?
The Xbox Series X and S drops this Tuesday. I think Sony is also this week, is it? So those are huge movements, huge potential plays.
Yeah. But you know what, I will say this though. I think this will differ because like I know some people are worried because they're saying like it's COVID, people aren't really buying things, but that's like what messed up Apple. But at the same time, Apple comes up with a new phone every year. Nobody cares about getting a new iPhone. People care about getting a new PS5. People care about getting a new Xbox. So I don't think what happened with Apple is any indictment of what's going to happen with these companies.
Yeah, we're talking about 7 years waiting. So like
exactly. Like the only bigger thing that can happen for gaming is when Rockstar makes the next Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
It's honestly, they need to bring that out soon. I need the next GTA 6 for real. Man, I've been playing GTA 5 too many times, but it's super exciting. We can talk more about the gaming initiatives. A lot of huge gaming movements going on, and we talk about it in the week ahead in the next segment. But before we wrap up the weekend review, another thing I did peep were a couple plays I made, and y'all can feel free to share any profits or losses or plays that you made this week. For me, I bought a couple shares. So from the previous episode, remember when I sold all my shares to kind of wait out the aftermath of the elections and secure my profits on some of the long-term plays I was holding. I did buy into a couple short-term swings. All of them are green. One of them means Square with the whole payment platform system that also take a huge headwind with things being online and digital now. Also the digital cryptocurrency aspect too. Uber with the Prop 22 news. I think that kind of was a game changer because not only are they reducing the losses they're taking, I feel like they're guaranteeing and solidifying ways that they will become profitable with stuff like that. And some of the other advancements they're making with technology, like their Uber Elevate program. Twitter too, for some reason, I can't remember why, Twitter took a huge dive. I think it dropped like 10 to 20%. So I did buy up in on that dip. Because I think Twitter is pretty much a very valuable source. If you think about it, a lot of our news that we track today is on Twitter. A lot of stuff that people talk about with the elections, things going on. People are posting on Twitter before CNN or anyone else even gets a chance to talk about it. So I think there's a huge potential for Twitter to keep going up, especially with ad revenue and things like that and different things becoming like a news platform. So I did buy into that. I'm up like 3% on that. Clorox as well. I saw a technical setup for that. It was quick, easy money, pretty much guaranteed. So I might close that this week. But so far, I'm up 3% on that, 6 and 8% on Square and Uber. I don't know if anyone else had like any plays that y'all made. Hero, I think he made a play this week.
The only ones that I'm looking at Microsoft. So Microsoft, I'm up. I'm up 12%. First Energy, I took a dive like I'm down $12.50, but that's $5.22 dividends. I'll take that any day of the week. Dunkin came through for me because for some strange reasons, Arby's bought them.
Oh yes, so now Arby owns Taco Bell, Dunkin, and what other thing? I think there was 3 restaurants that they own now.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
So I'm a big fan of Dunkin' Donuts. And I don't know who I think Arby's is a secret organization that specializes in mutants. But I did buy into it. I'm up $10 there. And NIO, I'm slowly but surely building my weight back up in there. But like I said, I'm okay with seeing my stuff in the red right now as long as the dividends are coming in.
Facts. That is crazy to me. I did not know Arby had money like that. They dropped $3 billion. Like that's some drug money. They selling drugs.
I'm telling you, I double dog dare you. I double dog any of y'all. Drive through past the Arby's and tell me if you even see an employee vehicle there. Tell me how many times you drove past an Arby during lunchtime and seen somebody in there eating. Never.
That was crazy to me.
Arby's is a secret government organization. So
what are they doing? Like, what do they do? Because I don't be seeing Arby's like that. Maybe except for in the South, like in Texas or something. Do any of y'all eat Arby's?
The one by my high school just closed. I went there twice with 2 different people, but I never got anything.
It's one out here in LA, but that's only seen one.
Only one, but like, so where is this $3 billion coming from? Now they own what? Like, where is this coming from? That is crazy, but that's a huge play. Do you think that's going to drive the stock price up for those different brands?
It did for Dunkin' Donuts. It's already tapering off, so the wave is coming on. But I'm a Dunkin' Donuts faithful, so I didn't mind riding that wave. I scraped off the top.
Facts. I think that was a really good play. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. A lot of restaurants are surprisingly still doing well during this pandemic, and their stock prices are reflecting that too. But it's hard to tell what's going to happen. But yeah, anyone else have? I see Javier hopped on. What's good, man?
What's up?
How's your week been? What's something that stood out for you this week? Any profits, losses, things you learned?
No, I was kind of on the sideline just looking at like stocks that could go up because after the sell-off, I think 2 weeks ago, I thought it was going to be another sell-off on Monday. So that was when I was going to go into ABGO, Boeing, and Honeywell. But I don't know. I was kind of too scared about that. And then I saw it like rise before my eyes. And I was like, okay, it's probably going to drop on Tuesday. Kept on rising. I was like, oh, it's probably going to drop on Wednesday. Kept on rising. So I don't know. I kind of kicked myself after that. But I was looking at those stocks because they have like a lot of business with China. And I know if I'm buying, hopefully like those regulations probably like slow down. But yeah, I was looking at those three stocks. So ABGO, Boeing, and Honeywell. So those three stocks.
Facts. I think that's a good like bunch of stocks, all a lot of heavy hitters or stocks that have like economic moats, like they have stuff that really keep them kind of on the safer side of things, so you can't not much to worry over there. So that's dope. Anyone else have anything that stood out this week before we go into the week ahead?
So Alibaba.
Yes, the Ant IPO. What happened with that?
Yes.
So it got blacked by the Chinese government or whatever like that. But
that is crazy.
But it dropped at the first couple of days. Then in later of the week it picked up. It was still negative over the week, but I jumped in on, I want to say Thursday, and I just made a day option on Thursday, and I came up 30% from that from the day option. So that was nice to have. But yeah, so they finished off the week good. Overall, they were still down 3%, but the last 2 days were good compared to the first ones.
Facts. Do you think like that will affect Alibaba anymore? Like, do you think it's going to go on a downtrend now, or do you think that will help, if anything, boost Amazon? Because I know Alibaba and Amazon are competitors.
I don't think it's. I think the trade, the fact that it didn't go through, everybody was expecting it was a bad market, but it's nothing that's going to hold them down for the long run. I think they're going to just go back to regular. It's like, oh, we wanted it, but we didn't get it. We were mad one day, but we move.
Facts.
So
Facts. But yeah, that was pretty much the week in review. A lot of crazy stuff happened this week, and I feel like if in anything, this next week is going to be equally as interesting. There are a couple things going on, especially with the kind of post effects of the elections. A lot of people are talking about that. What is going to happen? Originally, Wall Street had pretty much bet that the stock market is going to crash, but despite that, the stock market went up. So a lot of people are priced in. Okay, yeah. Biden's going to win. So now it'll be interesting to see, okay, now that Biden has won, although Trump is still trying to contest that and like still take credit for the stock market moving the way it did and done under his 4 years, a lot of people are saying now it don't matter, but it's interesting to see like what's going to happen. I did see a lot of stuff, people talking about, okay, what stocks are going to go up depending on if Trump won or if Biden won. So it'll be interesting to talk about that too. Anything that y'all saw earlier today? Next week.
The trick question is they all going up because really the market has already readjusted itself and it's now going to start fix itself. I think there's a major concern for energy. I think there's a major concern for any corporation that hasn't been doing their due diligence or expecting a buyout of the government. Like the airlines are in trouble.
Facts. So you think that's going to move them much? Because I think also with the cruise lines, will that also be affected?
Oh yeah, anything to do with travel, because people like me who normally travel, 10 to 12 times a year, I haven't traveled at all this year, and that's going to be the same thing for next year. Like if it's not within driving distance, I'm just not going. Don't get married.
Facts. Anything else that stood out to anyone else coming up this week? I know a couple of earnings report. Berkshire Hathaway reported on Saturday. I can't remember what they said about that, but they did make a huge investment. Like, they've been quiet and sitting on $130 billion worth of cash. And now that the stocks are starting to rally up, they're starting to buy back into a lot of stocks. I think they bought a huge stake of Tesla or some other company. So they're starting, like, you're starting to see Warren Buffett like make huge moves in like some of these stocks and other financial institutions too. What are some, like, do y'all feel like the market's gonna prop up? Like, I know I saw Canopy Growth growing up with Biden supporting legalization of weed in different states.
Cannabis shot up on Friday. It shot up. World Cannabis shot up on Friday.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
That's one of the bigger Canopy stock. Marijuana stock plays. I think I've heard of that one too.
Let me double check. I think I want to go home and see how much they went up.
The biggest ones I know of is Canopy Growth, Aurora Cannabis. I'm trying to think which other weed stocks are like be affected by like that legalization.
Yeah, Aurora Cannabis went up 56%.
56%. That is crazy.
Yeah, at its climax, it was up 88%.
Facts. It never went up that much when it started getting legalized in other states over these past year or 2 years. I don't know.
Well, 22 states legalized it in some form or fashion. It's never been like that before. The most has been 13.
Facts.
I was trying to tell Tarek this. There's this company called Grow Generation. They don't sell weed, but they sell the tools you need to take care of it, grow it, all of that, like shovels, lights, soils, those kind of things. So I think it's also good to look at the suppliers of these companies. Like, if we see that cannabis is going to do well, how are these people taking care of it and growing it? Oh, there's somebody who sells to growers.
So basically people that like supply the equipment to the growers, like this growing, I guess, grower industry.
Yeah, basically.
Facts.
Yeah, it's GRWG.
GRWG. I'm gonna throw that on there. I've not checked into that. I think another one I've heard of is weed.to or something like that. GRW. You said GRWG?
GRWG, yeah.
Facts.
And actually, it took a really big hit because this research firm called Hindenburg released like this fraudulent report saying that the owners were like mobsters and they'd been to jail and all this stuff. But it later came out that they were just lying to manipulate the stock price. They had a huge put position in it, I'm pretty sure. So it's recovered since then, and I think states legalizing marijuana is just going to help it.
Facts. I definitely think that's a smart strategy, because if you can go to people that are going to make the most money off this trend, that's smart. Because it's not only just be the people that actually produce and sell distribute the marijuana, but actually the people that actually grow it, the people that supply the things that I need. So that's actually a great point. Let me think. What else? Something I also noticed was like a lot of different industry movements. So with those ones that you guys mentioned, also with renewable energies, I know me and Hamid were talking about Plug earlier this week, and you talked about that as well. Tesla as well, because with Biden, one of the things that he's promising is that by 2030, we will have about, I think, 300 million or 500 million electric vehicle stations. So I think by him announcing that or stating that, you're going to see a lot of upward movement starting this week with renewable sources or renewable stocks like Jinko Solar, Plug, Tesla, Blink, different stocks like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Hero, do you know much more about like other promises that Biden was talking about within his administration that like would affect the markets in certain industries or certain aspects?
Insurance companies, because of single payer switch out and choosers market, all health insurances are going to be big thing. You got to look at people who are for-profit prisons that use prisoners as resources. So any of those like local retirements or like automotive industries or like farming companies that used to use prisoners from private prisons. All that stuff's going away. I plan on doing a deep dive into the economics of politics for Biden versus Trump. Trump made it very clear that he used blue collar people to make his money. But in Biden's world, he's gonna use technology and science to his advantage. And I don't see him being too friendly to blue collar workers in the near future.
Facts. I can see that. I know he's also talking about for the tax rates that he was talking about. Is he also planning to increase taxes on corporations?
Yeah, it probably won't be corporations. It's hard to target a corporation because you can't tax a corporation without equally distributing it. If you're going to tax Tesla at a certain rate, you have to tax all the companies at a certain rate. But you can differentiate tax brackets for per person, per people, and that's what I think is the better decision. If you're making more than $400,000, you're going to fall victim to these things. But if you're making more than $400,000, you've probably become richer since the start of the pandemic.
Gotcha. And speaking of that, I'll keep going.
I was going to say, one of the things Biden's thinking about doing is getting rid of this like-kind exchange rule in real estate. If you make more than $400,000, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
I think I might have heard of that. What was he saying about that again?
So a like-kind exchange, let's say you bought a property for $200K and you sell it for $300K in a couple years. With a like-kind exchange, if you identify a similar property within 6 months and use all of those funds to purchase that property, you don't have to pay tax on that $100,000 gain.
Oh, wow.
That's how people build wealth. They just keep leveling up using this rule and not paying tax.
That sounds like that would be super beneficial for like the wholesalers, the people that like buy and sell and just flip like different houses.
Well, you remember, Biden administration survived the crash of the real estate market, the housing market. So he's always going to try and do whatever he can do to avoid that happening again to him.
How soon do y'all think that like that will kind of reflect on the markets or like in the housing market? Or
I think it's constantly in place for us. There's currently right now in America, there's more places to live than homeless people. So it sort of says like you need to figure out a way of putting people in these homes. I could see a lot of these governments buying up some of these houses and making them into low income luxury housing to help with the homeless population, because the markets are going to have to regulate. We got people out here buying houses with 2% interest rates.
Facts. And I think that they did announce that they're keeping the interest rate for housing for different things like loans and things like that at the same like near 0.11% level. So that could definitely assist that. So I definitely agree with that. So that might be a great move. There are a couple real estate investment trusts or REITs, REIT stocks that like a really good place if that does happen. For those that don't know, a REIT is basically a stock that kind of is tied to a real estate fund, a real estate development project. So instead of directly investing in real estate, so like buying your own house or buying your own properties, you could buy a share or buy into this REIT stocks and technically own a piece of their real estate portfolio. So those might be if that does happen, that would be a good opportunity for those people that are looking at stuff like that. But we'll see how that goes this week. Anything else that's going on this week ahead? I think the only thing that I know, Berkshire is having their earnings. Well, they had their earnings report on Saturday. Canopy Growth and Disney, they're having their earnings report. Tying back into like the weed legalization in different states. I think that might be a huge boom for them this week after their earnings. Typically, I think stocks drop after their earnings, but this might be something that spikes them up. What do y'all think? Disney too.
After they pay out, expect a drought. Don't fight it.
You think it's going to drop after the earnings report still?
If they're giving away money, you got to lose money, right?
Facts. People might be looking to sell off the hype that they've
sell off and buy the dip. Guarantee secure your funds.
Long-term goals. What about Disney? Disney I'm personally not invested in Disney.
Gotta hear more about what Disney wants to do, because Disney is right now sitting on 13 movies that cost them at least all of them at least cost somewhere around $2 billion. So when it's all said and done, with how much money at this point they're dealing with Theta, and they're dealing with the long-term Theta. Either you put it on Disney Plus, or you keep hoping that theaters are going to open up. And I know it's a bad idea, but I so badly want to buy 100 shares of just AMC. I know it's a bad idea, but I just want to own 100 shares of AMC.
I think that's a pump and dump, man, because I've not seen the value. Like, why is the stock going up?
Because okay, all you got to do is look me in the eye and tell me you don't believe that we're the movie theaters. You're never going to a movie theater another day in your life. If you can look me in the eye and say you're never going to another movie theater, I won't buy it.
Cases, I don't plan on going anytime soon. So
in your life, though, that's what I'm saying. Because stocks are forever.
Are they? Are they really?
I mean, my roommate was at AMC this weekend.
See, they're dumb people I can make money off of.
I mean, that was because their fraternity hosted like a little like event there. So there was only like 60 people there. That was crazy. But yeah, there's only 60 people at the AMC down here in Champaign. So that was pretty funny.
All I'm saying is, as long as there's dumb people, I can make money, man.
True. You buying into AMC and y'all hopping on the AMC wave?
It's $2. It's $2.15. Get yourself 100 shares. Let it sit there. What's the worst that can happen?
AMC, I thought they were at $30 per share.
Get the hell out of here.
AMC, what was the AMC stock price? I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Oh yeah, you're right. It's $2.49. That's crazy. I was thinking of something else. But that's crazy. If you buy it, that's facts. You can buy a huge amount of shares. If it pops back up, that's a huge long. You got to be patient.
If it goes back to $5, I've made my money.
Facts. Chill. So interesting seeing how that plays out.
If it goes back to $2.15, I'm buying it because that's where it dipped to, and that's when I thought about it. I'm gonna take a YOLO on that one.
Facts. The only two other things I can think of going on, this is Black Monday. Black Monday, that's the week after, though. How do you think that's going to happen? Or how do you think that's going to affect the markets overall?
I think that's going to affect the market. It's going to be shown the week of when they start showing their sales. I think because Black Friday is going to have to be, this is not Black Friday, excuse me. This way is going to have to show how, because people responded and expected how Trump decides to leave office. That's really what's going to affect a lot of things.
Facts. Thanksgiving holidays coming up soon, so we'll see how that plays out. But lastly, also the S&P 500. What do you think is going to happen with the stock market overall? Are y'all thinking it's going to keep rallying up now that Biden has won, or you think it's going to crash with everything else going on too, or keep going down?
The fact that Trump is still having a temper tantrum and is in the first part of the first stages of regret is no one had faith in Trump. That he's going to do well. If anybody had faith in him, it was just because the companies knew that they were literally destroying the country, the economic reserve, or the environment to make profit. There are companies already putting back the standards from the Obama administration without being forced yet, just because they know that the punishments are coming down. The market is going to readjust and is going to find its way. I still believe the market will catch up on itself. This year is over and done with, but we got to deal with COVID before anyone starts talking about money.
Well, that's facts. We're going to see that. I think we actually got, I confused Black Monday and Black Friday. Black Monday is actually just an anniversary of when like a huge stock market decline. So I did get that confused. But I definitely agree with things going on. But historically, I've seen stats saying that the markets typically crash, or not really crash, but drop a little bit post-elections.
How much lower can they go?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like the way you see all these losses on stock trades, it could go low. You can lose 10% easily in one day versus.
I mean, I welcome it. I got $600 I want to burn. So if I would love to buy a dip of one of these big Fortune 500 companies and just be able to say I own 40 shares of you because you had a bad day.
Facts. definitely buying on this dip. That's something that Jim Cramer, he's been pushing, talking about people to, hey, buy on the dip. That is pretty much guaranteed. But we'll be interested if that happens this week. But yeah, that is the week ahead. Last segment is our usual members pick, where everybody goes around and says what it is that they're calling out, what things that they're playing this week or the week ahead. For me, I'm just looking to sell those swing trades I bought into. I bought into Twitter, so I'm planning to sell off the swing trades, and I start buying into like those stocks that I identified would do well under like COVID conditions, as well as Biden administration. So I might continue with that. So those would be like stuff like Roku, PTEON, might buy into NIO. They've been on a rampage this week. They hit over $40. I think they hit up to $45. I might buy into that. That is something that I see potential in, especially with electric vehicle. What about you, Hero? Everyone else?
AMC. I'm gonna keep my eye on AMC as a long play, just to be reckless. I'm also gonna keep my eye on Microsoft. It'll be the foreshadowing of Sony. If they do well, it'll let me know how. Not like it'll just tell you if people are willing to spend money, and if they are they willing to spend $500 in that amount sum. And then lastly, I'll be looking at all my little companies like Dunkin' Donuts and so on and so forth, trying to get a better understanding of the market, and then I'll be doing my deep dive onto what Biden's stock market looks like.
Facts. That's smart plan. Hamid, how about you?
I have a question for Hero. Do you think that Microsoft leads first? Do you think their success could be detrimental to Sony?
No, because we know from historically speaking, Sony has outperformed Microsoft when it comes to gaming in the idea of personality and popularity. Sony doing well will only benefit Microsoft doing well will only benefit Sony. Okay. It'll be a foreshadowing. So that means immediately I'm going to put a bunch of money into Sony because it's only going to foreshadow Sony doing well.
Okay, dope. My week, I'm looking into Team. I've been off and on with them just because they're great at making workspace technology. So I think with working at home, they're going to be huge.
Team, which company is that again? That's
their tag is Team. Their company name is like Altalasian or something. I don't know how to say it.
Atlassian, yep. I heard of them. Atlassian, or however they pronounce it.
Yeah. This is like different apps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the work productivity stocks are all booming, like Slack booming, Asana that recently IPO, they're slowly going back above IPO levels. Palantir, Teamwork, those are stocks that are slowly going up. They have potential to keep going up to the end of the year. But I did see a couple of drops on those, but we can see how that plays out. Anyone else? Jesse, what are you looking at this week? What plays you making? What picks? What things are you calling out watching?
So I'm looking at 4 different companies this week. I haven't really made a move in probably like 3 weeks or a month, just because I'm not really active. I just go in and buy and then wait to buy some more. But with that being said, I'm looking at Alibaba. I've been kicking myself for not buying more earlier. Yeah. I've been kicking myself for not buying more earlier, like around 260 all the way back then. I'm also looking at Stepstone. They're a recent IPO, I believe. They deal with asset management and alternative assets, and those type of companies do well when there's volatility in the markets. So if you think about BlackRock and KKR, they kind of do something similar. It's Stepstone, not Stepstone.
Facts, and that makes sense, especially if they're planning to do similar stuff like deploy their capital. Now that stocks are like on the dips, like buying into different things.
Did you say Stepson or Stepstone?
Stepstone.
Why did I say
That's why I was laughing.
What is their ticker name or ticker symbol?
Step.
Facts.
Yeah. And then the other 2, I'm looking at Shopify below 1,000. This has worked for me a few times. Huh?
And that's a great call out because Shopify is pretty much the next Amazon. I feel like it was the next Amazon. I feel like they have the potential to reach the same level that Amazon is right now, if not go higher. Small businesses and e-commerce as an e-commerce platform. That's a good call out.
Yeah. And then the last one, Lowe's. Like you said, interest rates are going to be low for a while, and that just incentivizes people to go out and get mortgages, go buy properties, fix them up. And I actually like Lowe's a little more than Home Depot at this valuation.
Yeah, because there's a black guy running it, and that's why I still own shares in it.
Thanks.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Allow me to tell you your biases. I'm here for it.
How about you, Nuffy? What stocks are you looking at? What are you looking at seeing?
I know I've been very quiet. I'm a beginner, so I just got into the stock market in the beginning of COVID, and Heroes helped me build my other brother helped me build my little profile. But I mean, I know I need to definitely I'm like a safe stock person. Like
so blue chip.
Yeah, like I like to just make sure okay, it's like I like to build my profile, but like I'm a very safe person. I don't try to risk things. I took a big L with Jumia. I was up like 499%, and the next day it dropped all the way back down to like literally where I started. So after that, it was like a shocker, like a wake up for me. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be doing those kind of things anymore. So for me, I'm just taking away from like how you guys are like analyzing each stock. Like a goal for me is to just continue to build my profile. Like I try to get 2 new stocks a week, just to keeping it like a broad and just building on it. But just figuring out like which stocks are the most important stocks to like keep up with for long term and longevity. So yeah, I'm just a beginner. I'm a safe stock person. I like to keep my money, and I also like it to grow.
Sound like you're a coward to me. Put the money,
yeah, but
put it all in AMC, fam.
I do want to try like an option trade just to get a feel for it. I'm definitely gonna do it with either Hero, Taufik, or my other brother, one of the three, before I do it, just to kind of see what the options are. But yeah, I definitely am interested in reading that book that you posted on here and just trying to get some more knowledge. I'm more so on the knowledge piece right now. I'm just trying to understand where I'm putting my money and what's going to be the outcome of it.
Facts. No, that's actually a great strategy. But I think Jumia is also still a good play. Like I think they're basically the African version of Amazon.
Yeah, I know. And like right now they're still up, but like the first time I got in at 495, and I was up like 499%. So I made a lot of money off of it, but then like I got too greedy, I guess, and it literally lost like the next day. So yeah, just having knowledge though, just understanding like when you were up 100%, that was a time for you to take that money and keep it, and then try to keep building on whatever it is. Just being smart about it and not just being like, oh, let me just wait and see how high I can get before I take my money out. Even though I should have listened to Hero. Hero told me, but I was still being greedy, and I just kept going.
We preaching the lessons. We preaching what we learned.
So that's why I'm definitely like safe now. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing too much. I do a lot of limit orders. I like that feature a lot. I use it a lot just because I don't really have time to look at my phone every day to see what's going on in the market. So I do a lot of limit orders. I try to dedicate some time in the morning to see what's going on in the market and, set up some limit orders and things I want to sell, and things like that. So I'm not too involved, but now that I'm in a different role in my position, I feel like I have more time to look at the stock market. It's also difficult being on Pacific time. So I'll be moving. I'll be moving. Yeah. So now I'll be moving to DC. So I guess I'll be on Eastern time. So that might also be another advantage.
It's not easy waking up opening bell.
Yeah. So yeah, that was also a difficult thing, just being behind 3 hours. And just coming into what already has taken place. So yeah, I'm just learning, and I'm gonna use these shows, these podcasts, just to listen. I'm a quiet person. I like to take notes and just listen and kind of understand what I'm doing. Because like you said, we didn't learn these things like when I was in high school, college, grad school. So it's just nice to know that people are taking the time out of their time, like you, Taufik, and just learning the market and giving it back to like us, especially me, your family member.
Facts. We all learning. That's a tribe mentality. But I guess going back to what you talked about with Jumia, Hamid, you have an open Jumia call, or you are looking at an options call, so that might be a good play too.
Okay, well, we'll explore that together.
Facts. I just Hamid is on mute, so he can talk about that. But how about you, Javier? You have a similar strategy, blue chip stocks. What are you looking at? What are things on your radar?
Yeah, similar blue chip. Other than that, this past week I was looking at DuPont. I think it's a good buy under 60. Jim Cramer is really bullish on that. And yeah, it's an industrial company and they have business with China too. So I feel like it might jump up. And yeah, under 60, I think it's a good buy. And also Boeing, they had a good week. And yeah, I feel like if there's new 737 news and a new plane, that'll just like jump up the stock. It's really like, I don't know, it's really down right now. Or before this week it was really down. And I don't know, I'm looking at Boeing and DuPont for this week.
Facts. Jesse says he has 5 shares of DuPont too, or DuPont.
Okay. I'm probably gonna buy this week too. So yeah, I'm looking into that.
That'll be interesting play. I don't know much about that company, but that'll be a good play. Let's see what else is going on. What other picks? I don't have anything on my radar besides that. A couple stocks that I was looking at. Besides that, that's about it. There's nothing else that's big on my radar. I'm gonna keep learning more about unusual options activity and scanners. That's something I'm still learning about and figuring out. It is taking a lot more time since it's not much information about unusual options activity online. At least I've not seen it yet. But besides that, this is gonna be an interesting week, interesting end of the year. There's not much on our end. Anyone else have anything to add before we close out? Nope. All right, perfect. That is pretty much it. We just got done with episode 7. Crazy week this past week, crazy week ahead. It feels like 2020 is just coming to a crazy close, but we still got to close out green. I personally was green this week, so that's another good thing. Took an L the week before, but we bouncing back. And we like to see everyone else that is in the chat positively. I'm getting profits during this period. But if you want to tune in and stay tuned, make sure to like, share, and follow us on all our pages. We want to thank everyone that listens and thank the guests that we have on today. This is the Trade Tribe, so make sure to share this with your friends and family, whichever way you're watching or listening to this. We are on all podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it. We're also on YouTube, so definitely check us out there at the Trade Tribe. Feel free to discuss anything, ask questions, comment. For those that are in the tribe, in the Discord, keep the discussions going on. We have live discussions. So if you are interested in being a member of the Trade Tribe, definitely reach out to us. You can also contact TheTradeTribe@gmail.com. And yeah, good luck trading and tribe out.